Hello BookTube, Books with Banks back again with another Malazan beautiful scene analysis video. Today we're looking at a scene from near the end of Book 8, Told the Hounds. So this video will feature heavy spoilers for one very particular specific storyline from Told the Hounds, but not much beyond that. Even the rest of the main story in this book, I won't really be talking about any of that. So if you're just stumbling onto my videos for the first time, I do have 9 other videos in the series so far, in which I look at least one scene from the main 10 Malazan books up to this point. That playlist and other Malazan and fantasy sci-fi media content is over on my channel, so please go feel free to check that out, especially if this video might not interest you. Something else over there just might. All that said, let's get into it. I'm looking today at a short scene from the end of chapter 19 in Told the Hounds. In the mass market paperback, this is pages 1006 to 1007. So again, very, very short. This will probably be one of my shorter videos. We are with the character Harllo, who is a young boy who has been enslaved in the mines outside the city he grew up in, the beautiful city of Darujhistan. Harllo and his friend from the mines, a boy named Banisk, are escaping when Banisk takes a painful fall, and in this scene we'll see Harllo consoling his friend by describing his beautiful home city, describing the city itself and the mothers within in a more glowing, praising kind of language than Harllo actually used to feel, than if he was being honest with himself about whether or not he liked the city of Darujhistan. In part, he is trying to console his wounded friend, but at the same time, he might also be kind of admitting to loving more about the city that he merely took for granted when he lived there. Important to note, though, Harllo's mother was sexually assaulted in Book 3 of the series, and Harllo is the product of that assault. His mother has a difficult time coping with the trauma from that still, and she doesn't know how to be close or very traditionally kind of like motherly and protective and present with Harllo. Or at least that's how she's felt before he goes missing, sold into the mines in this book. And we, the reader, know he's been sold into slavery. She doesn't know specifically that, just that he's gone, or that he's missing. So here we go. Harllo and Banisk are 2 slave boys escaping the mines, trying to get back to the city Harllo remembers well, but Banisk has only ever dreamed of seeing. Here goes. Harllo's sudden, unexpected plummet ended quickly amidst sharp-edged boulders. Gashes ripped across his back, one thigh and the ankle of the same leg. The impact left him stunned. He vaguely heard something strike the rocks nearby, a terrible snapping, crunching sound. Eventually, he stirred. The pain from the wounds was fierce, and he could feel blood trickling down, but it seemed he'd broken no bones. He crawled slowly to where he'd heard Banisk land, and heard ragged breathing. When his probing hands touched warm flesh, he found it wet, broken, and at the brush of his fingertips it flinged away. Banisk! A low groan, and then a gasp. Banisk, it's me! We made it down. We got away. Harllo? The voice was awful in its weakness, its pain. Tell me. He pulled himself alongside Banisk, his eyes making out a rough shape. He found Banisk's face, tilted towards him, and Harllo drew himself onto his knees and eased up his friend's head, feeling strange shards moving under his hands beneath Banisk's blood-matted hair, and then, as gently as he could manage, he settled the head onto his lap. Banisk. The face was crushed along one side. It was a miracle that he could speak at all. I dreamed, he whispered. I dreamed of the city, floating on the lake, going wherever the waves go. Tell me, Harllo. Tell me about the city. We'll break here before we get into Harllo's answer, but already this is a heartbreaking scene, just having to sit for a moment with these 2 children, and on one hand, Erikson, he gives us this hope from Harllo that they'll make it out okay, but by Banisk's wish and his words and what it sounds like the scene's going, or the direction it sounds like it's going in, it seems he's much more aware of how dire his situation is than Harllo might be. So remember what I said about Harllo's mother, and Harllo continues. You'll see it soon enough. Tell me. Harllo stroked his friend's brow. In the city, Banisk, in the city, there's shops, and everybody has all the money they need, and you can buy whatever you want. There's gold and silver, beautiful silver, and the people are happy to give it away to anyone they like. No one ever argues about anything. Why should they? There's no hunger, no hurts of any kind, Banis. In the city, every child has a mother and a father, and the mother loves her son forever and ever, and the father doesn't rape her, and you can just pick them for yourself. A beautiful mother, a strong, handsome father. They'd be so happy to take care of you. You'll see. You'll see. They'd see how good you are. They'd see right through to your heart and see it pure and golden, because all you ever wanted to do was to help out. Because all you ever wanted to do was to help out. Because you were a burden to them and you didn't want that. And maybe if you helped enough, they'd love you and want you to be with them, to live with them. And when it didn't work, well, it just means you have to work harder, do more, do everything. Oh, Banis, the city. There are mothers. He stopped then, for Banis had stopped breathing. He was perfectly still, his whole broken up body folded over the sharp rocks, his head so heavy in Harllo's lap. Leave them here, or leave them there, now. Whew. Okay, so that is some heavy stuff. I will just say right at the end there, leave them there now. That's basically the Krupp narration, the sort of narrator within the story that we have with unique to this book, book 8. And then there's a page break, and it goes on and saying, okay, so let's leave them there now. He's just been describing the city. Then we go to this sort of passage of Krupp kind of going over the city, and it reads like, the city, as dusk closes in, the blue fires awaken, and so on and so forth, and he kind of goes over a bunch of different stories. So it's sort of like he was kind of there listening to this child paint this beautiful portrait of the city that he remembers with a lot of pain, loaded with a lot of pain, and then Krupp's like, okay, let's leave them alone to this tragic moment. Let's go back to the city they've been talking about. Let's go over the reality of the situation. And this really is, it's some heavy stuff. Erikson is able to really just, in this scene, so carefully construct a relatively short moment so that it summarizes Harllo's, I guess we could call it, growth across the book. He's really just a boy, still confused about the lack of attention his mother's given him. At the beginning of the novel, he can't really make sense of any of her trauma or what that might have to do with how distant she is from him. But now in this tragic moment, after Harllo has been through his own traumas, and after he can see kind of how wonderful his life has been, maybe compared to someone like Banis, regardless of whether or not that's true, Harllo is able to articulate to himself and to Banis especially what bothered him so much about his mother's actions, and he does so by explaining this ideal other situation. An ideal situation that would have answered all of his anxieties and fears about whether or not his mother actually loved him, whether or not he was actually a good son. So not only do we have an emotional scene because Banis is dying in his friend's arms, but it's also emotional because Harllo is starting to really grapple with and come to terms with how he was neglected and with what his ideal version of childhood would have looked like. And we, the readers, know this is idealized, but the dying Banis kind of thinks it's the truth, and that he's getting this beautiful, hopeful kind of send-off image of this city that he never got to see, and that at least his friend Harllo might be able to return to such a wonderful, beautiful place and a wonderful mother, even if he knows he, Banis himself, will not ever be making it there, will not ever be able to see that city. Anyway, it's a pretty short one today, a short but powerful scene. I'm sure there's more to read into in here than my brief summary and lightly touching on themes kind of did, although in hindsight, this whole Harllo character arc might really lend itself better to its own video sometime in the future, where I'd be able to look at more than just this one quick moment. Quick example, the bittersweet desperation of the scene makes the payoff at the end of this story, in this book, one of the more powerful and satisfying moments of the entire series, but kind of because of the way I'm structuring these scene-by-scene analyses, I really just wanted to focus on one particular moment. That said, for this video, even more than any others, I would love to hear from people down in the comments what they took away from it, whether or not they enjoyed the Harllo storyline, etc. Love to hear from people because, again, I didn't get super deep in my analysis, so I think the comments section down below could be a really great place to have some kind of productive conversation about the themes here. If you enjoyed the video and you haven't already, as always, please like and subscribe and share with your friends on whatever social media you frequent regularly. My next video will be another scene from Book 8, Told the Hounds, but this next one will be a scene from kind of the main course of events in this really just most epic of convergences, and we return actually back inside the Sword of Dragnapur, the setting of the first scene-specific analysis I did, but we aren't coming alone this time. Oh no, 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 we brought an army with us. If you're subscribed, you'll be notified for when that comes out, and thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.